Big Mecha. Will, do you have the touch?
Indeed.
Do
I
you
also
have the
have the power.
power? Oh, you do. Well, you're gonna have to enlighten me on this brand new finale episode of Big Mecha, but not huge. How you doing, sir? I know it's been a while.
Pretty good. You know, hanging in there, trying to
Uh,
trying
yeah,
to get stuff
considering
done.
that we both went through a hurricane.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're inland, so it's not as bad, but
It was pretty rough.
yeah, your area probably a lot worse than ours.
Surprisingly, like at least when it came to the damage, it wasn't as bad as you would expect. Like
Hmm.
the coastal area got really
Oh no,
messed
no.
up.
They got crushed again because they're
It's
coastal.
it's so bad. But
Mm-hmm.
with where I live, I'm surrounded by trees, literally front, back, side to side.
Mm-hmm.
In the different ways that people go to bed. Front, back, side to side. That's how the trees are.
Look,
And
I mean, you're just saying you got a lot of wood every day when you close your eyes. You're surrounded by it and
dude,
comforted by it.
it was made even worse with all the wind.
Yeah, that was
Oh
probably
man.
interesting.
Oh god, I'm a little bit of a paranoid person to begin with, and so when everything just started flapping and like
Yeah.
wind started blowing through my screen door, my glass screen door that was closed, it's like
Oh yeah.
oh, this is not going to be good. So I ended up
Yeah, they're
going to my hallway. I live on a second floor. I ended up going to my hallway and I just like buried myself in a pillow trying to like block it out for a few hours. So that was fun.
hmm yeah,
But
the I recommend sandbags next time to just brace your door and stuff.
I will have to do that because all I did was just I had the drapes over it and then I put my chair in front of it. That way it wouldn't like blast out all the time.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say that, or if it opens inward, then you can put something heavy in front of it
Hmm.
to just brace it so it doesn't like rattle or get shoved in. Because theoretically, with a strong enough gust, it can just like kind of rattle it.
You know what else is gusty?
I mean, I'm a little worried now, but
You know what else likes to blow hard? Our
uh,
love for Mecha.
I mean, that's a weird way to describe that.
Yeah, yeah, gusty. I like it. So after the hurricane hit, I ended up losing power for about a day, so I had to do a bunch of different things before my power came back up.
Hmm
And I ended up building two model kits. I ended up
Ooh,
building the Liger Zero and the Shield Liger. So I'll be
really?
posting those pictures in the video later on. But I actually got around to where I was playing with them a little bit, to where I could actually do like this little, not a diorama, but like almost like a comic strip where the Liger Zero is on top of a box and it's like trying to stretch out its claws and be all cute and shit, and then
Hmm.
the shield liger is slowly coming up to the box, and then it's hanging on like Lion King for a second, and then it's climbing up, and then it scares the shield liger, and then they both look at each other excitedly. I'm like, I have no time. I have nothing but time right now. Let's go ahead and do this. um,
Ah, one day, all that the light touches will
Pretty
be
much.
owned by Bandai.
Yeah,
I'm
or
kidding. I'm kidding.
Bandai Namco.
It's
Yeah.
no, 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 no. The real winner will be Sony. Let's be honest.
Damn. Damn.
Yeah, they own everything else.
That's true. If not them, then Disney. But when I did get
Hmm
power back, I did manage to watch a complete Mecha series. It was only about 25 episodes long. But before I get into that, what have you done recently?
Well, there's this small indie show called Beast Wars. I may or may not be in the 40s and down to the last like six episodes.
Oh man,
Um, yeah, I'm at. I mean, I'm sure you remember more. So I'm at the part where they just did Transmetal 2 Cheetor, which is
dude,
a really fucking cool design. I'm kind of sad that hasn't gotten more like updated models.
it was
That's a
such a
cool
cool
fucking
design, and the
design.
toy was like badass to play with
I'm
too.
sure it was. I forgot it existed because so when it comes to giant companies cashing in on nostalgia, they are very reticent to go past the very beginning. That's why with Pokemon they push like Gen 1 starters more than every other generation of starter. As a
Mm-hmm.
Gen 1 child, I do not think those are the only Pokemon they should push in everything all the time. I'm okay if they branch out to Gen 2.
It's nostalgia bait.
Yeah, like I get that it's nostalgia bait, but Gen 2 came out like a year after. You could nostalgia bait with that. The people who played up to like Gen 4 are basically adults now. So what are you baiting? Like you don't have to only do
Well,
one
there are
subset
people
of
like
your
me who have
fandom.
only played the first two.
Yeah, but you're not the audience. There's an entire generation. Pokemon generations, it's an entire generation of people like twice now. Pokemon's old enough that it's existed for two full generations or three
Yeah.
worth of humans, and generations is a whole other topic of whether it's even accurate to use that term anymore. But point is, it's existed so long, they could nostalgia bait every generation of starter up to like 10 years ago. And theoretically get something decent out of it. If you really want to be like, well, they need to be in their like mid 20s. 25 years ago was 1999 when it first came out. Well, it was 3 years after it came out, actually. So 28 years ago. Somebody born when Pokemon released has like kids and a mortgage now. So it, that person would have been like Gen 3 or 4 by the time they were 10 years in, 2009. That's like Gen 5 or 6. Like it's weird that they only do the originals. It's like you can nostalgia bait every one of them individually and then do crossovers to be stupid about it. Like you're not, as a business, you're not capitalizing as hard, with the very few exceptions, aka Charizard. Fucking people love Charizard more than every other Pokemon, a lot. So just leave it alone. But it's weird that they nostalgia bait and they do the same thing with Transformers and other stuff. It always makes me happy and a little sad because like there's a really cool set of model kits they're doing for Beast Wars. And it's
Wait,
Beast Wars has
model kits
gotten,
for Beast Wars?
well, there's that one I sent you, which I didn't think a model kit that like boutiquey would pick
You
a
mean the
Beast Wars
Megatron, right?
character. Yeah, the mega, that is a unique, like 100%
I
original design.
is that an actual model kit? Because I thought that was just a re-released figure that's super detailed.
That looks nothing like what he is. That is not him. That is that company's iteration of him. So they bought the rights to make one and then had someone design them an original version of that character.
Hold on, I'm looking it up now because I swear to God, yeah, the Fury. Oh my God, it's a model kit.
Yeah, that's Furai. And the Furai kit, that is not at all what he looks like in the show. That is based on his look from the show, but that is 100% mecha anime, like if you put him through that filter. That is not what he looks like in the
Okay.
show.
Yeah, that's not what I thought it was. I thought it. Okay, so to add context to this, after you sent me this, I ended up sending you the video of Jobby the Hong doing the Megatron review for a toy re-release where
Hmm.
it was like an ultra detailed version of the Beast Wars Megatron that comes with like LED lights and some sounds and shit.
Hmm.
And to top it off, he also managed to get David Kay to do some voice work for
Nice.
those lines because the toy actually only has Japanese lines since it's Japanese only release.
Makes
Um,
sense, which is also, there's
so
a lot of that.
right, and so because of that, he was able to go ahead and get him on there to do some lines. And if you haven't watched it, it's some really funny stuff. But wow, now that I know that there's a model kit, holy shit, that looks sick.
Yeah, that is an $85 model kit by Flame Toys, who, fantastic company. They make really cool stuff. That model kit is 100% original. It's the first version of Megatron. Then they had like an in-house artist or whatever make a new version. They built that into their thing. And so they are nostalgia baiting. That is 100% what they are doing. However,
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I just wish they would go like, when they do that for a line, they wouldn't stop so hard on like very specific. So they do like Primal, Megatron, Black Arachnia tends to, but I mean, she was like the only girl, so I get that. Um, then it'll be Cheetor, possibly Rhinox and Rat Trap, and they won't even touch, and then Dinobot maybe, but they won't even touch the rest of the Predacons. None of them have, they don't have faith in any of them having enough of a following, except for Megatron, Black Arachnia, and then that's about it. They do not give a shit
Damn.
about anybody else. I don't see Hasbro doing kits. They've done more for Beast Wars because they tried to do more of a complete kind of thing, but that's because when they do re-releases of Transformers, regardless of show, when they go in, they'll do like the whole line again. So you got in Beast Wars all like the side kits too. So the recolors and the renames, those got re-released in lower quantities, but like they had Tigatron, and then they had where he was not him, but Cheetor was repainted, I think, black, which was like a BotCon exclusive or something at one point. They released that
Mm.
as a limited run, and then they'll do like all sorts of stuff like that because that's just changing the color of the thing. It's keeping the mold the same, and then they'll like swap out the head, and so the head and the coloring will be the only difference. But anywho,
Man, so talking about all this Beast Wars stuff, I need to look in one of the toy boxes that I still have left over. I know that I have some Beast Wars things in there. I actually
hmm,
found my Silver Bolt.
nice.
Yeah, I was like, you know what, I gotta keep my Silver Bolt. But with us talking about it, I'm looking at TF Safari right now, where I ended up getting my most five most recent figures, and I haven't played with any of them yet, or tried to transform any of them yet, because I also ended up buying the Rise of the Beast edition of Optimus Primal, and I regret it.
Oh no.
uh, it's not. Yeah, it is pretty much the way that it looks. I'll be posting pictures of it later as well, but there's just something about it where it's just like the robot version just doesn't look cool. And it's not that the movie version didn't look cool, because I like the movie version. It's just whatever they did with this particular toy. It's not worth the $50 MSRP that I paid
Oof.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna. So when it comes to Transformers, they are incredibly hit or miss with me because to make them transformable, a lot of them make certain like concessions. And so I can really like a character and then still not pick up most of their stuff because I just don't like the way that one looks. It's got weird proportions because there's a gimmick they were going for. And I've never heavily collected Transformers. So it's just generally speaking hit and miss. It's also Hasbro. Hasbro is fucking weird. They have a ton of money and they, in my opinion, don't properly. I could give them business advice. It would be you are idiots. You are wasting one of the most valuable properties on the planet. This would be like Disney fucking up Star Wars merchandising. Say what you will about Disney making media. Disney has not fucked up their merchandising. They continue to make oodles of cash off of all the merchandising, statues, costumes, all that shit. And they make really high end stuff. Hasbro has never properly, ever properly executed on high level, high price collectibles ever for any property, no matter how old or how new. They see themselves as a toy brand targeting kids and kind of expensive toys, and then older fans who will also buy those expensive toys, and that's it. They rarely, because, and I know that's true because there is an entire cottage industry of third party transformer companies. You are clearly
Well,
not servicing your base if there are whole other companies who make their living off of people you refuse to cater to. Come on,
so that's
Hasbro.
the next thing that I was gonna say, because, like I said,
Y'all are dumb.
I'm looking at the what they've got on here for Transformers Beast Wars toys on TF Safari. They've got their versions of Beast War toys, and they don't look half bad. Like, they don't look great for what they are, because they are definitely third party.
Hmm.
Like this Megatron one, it looks cool, but it also looks off in a way. It's called the Robot Toys Tyrant. I'll send a link. Oh, well, you know what? Tell you what, I'll actually just send it to you right now. Give me 1 second here.
Hmm.
So yeah, they've got all these different third-party ones, which, I wouldn't mind getting, because obviously they're not doing good reprints or re-releases of them anymore, because the ones that they did for, like, let's say that Dragon Megatron, that's like, what is it? It's $50 for it, but it's nowhere near as cool as the Dragon Megatron that originally came out for Transmetal 2 back in the day. It's just like, Hasbro, what are you doing?
Yeah, I have seen them do this with most of their franchises. I have to assume, because based off of their behavior, because I'm not in any of their discussions, I don't work there. Based off of their behavior as a company, I have to assume they pigeonhole themselves and purposely choose not to try and aim for or compete with certain things. And I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why, because they theoretically have much larger, like they have more contacts in every stage of the thing. They have more contacts in production, more contacts in sales. They are the owners of the IP. They are not doing any of this adjacent nonsense. They can 100% make a $700 statue of Optimus Prime, which they do, that is real, and they make money on it. They don't make it; they give it to another company who produces $800 statues because that company's good at it. But they could also do $300 Transformers that are slightly bigger than normal, but insanely detailed, and are basically like perfect grade model kits for Gundam. They could do limited runs of those, or even on demand production, and make money. They don't. They could cater to more than just, well, it has to be affordable. We have to hit our price point. No, you don't. You have to for the new ones because you're targeting actual children and families. You have to. That's what you do. But you're not targeting them with this repro of 1980 something Optimus Prime. You're targeting somebody in their 50s. At that point, it's a totally different demographic, completely different part of the market, totally different needs, wants, all that stuff. They will still buy the other stuff if they're a big Transformers fan, but come on, man. You're leaving money on the table. You could be making more. You can do both, I think. Granted, some of their purchases in recent years at high levels, they're feeling a little wobbly, like Disney. So maybe some of their high level decisions are kind of biting them in the ass, and maybe cool it on those. Because I am technically describing a risk. They would be going into a new market. They would have very little data for how they could compete in it. There is also a chance if they did that, which downsides to everything, there's a chance that if they did that, they might have to more aggressively try to shut down companies making these random kits and stuff because
Mm-hmm.
all these random, whatever, like third party transformers, if they look too much like we call it whatever, and then everybody they just wink at you with the side eye, and it's like, yeah, sure, that's its name. We all know what that is. Everybody knows what that is. You show that to a jury,
Yeah.
and they're gonna go, that's this other. They're gonna see A and B, and they're gonna go, those aren't the same company. And Hasbro's gonna say, no, we make the one on the left, they make the one on the right, and they're gonna go, oh, yeah, that's definitely copyright infringement. What a judge is probably going to say. So, although, yeah, just upsides and downsides to everything, but it's just always struck me as weird. I never understood.
Well, can't complain too much about it when we're getting all these other third party things that are still pretty
I
cool
mean,
to
I
look
can
at.
complain
I
that
don't
I
know if you were
ain't
able to.
got the money to buy that shit, but that's a personal
That's
problem. That
true.
is entirely a
That
personal
is.
problem.
I mean, the ones that I
That's
just
me.
recently got, the quote unquote Armada, Jetfire, and Optimus
Those
Prime,
things are
those were
fucking
expensive as
cool.
fuck. They are, and I will be posting pictures of those
They are
later.
very
But my
detailed.
God,
Oof.
they
They're
are,
way better than
man.
the most recent repro that Hasbro did. And I think the reason they look better is because Hasbro tried to crush it down into a smaller form factor. And going by the
Mm-hmm.
photos, I don't have it, but going by the photos, the two things you bought are much chunkier, and they were okay leaving it chunky to maintain more of a animation accurate, like make it look more lore accurate, I guess you'd say. Make it look more like it did in the show, so they didn't screw with it to mess with the proportions.
Well, speaking of screwing with it with for the proportions, I don't know if you've been seeing any of the links that I've been sending you just now, but my God, they
Those
have
are fucking
these
gorgeous.
really,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sure they're all like 100
like
bucks,
Cheetor,
but
Transmetal Cheetor. Oh my God. Well, yeah, Transmetal Cheetor is pretty
but that's what
expensive.
I mean. Like
Um,
this, Hasbro could be making these first party. There's no way they can't
they
hire
really
the
could.
people who do this or literally just buy these companies and go, "Hey, we're going to own you. We're going to tell you what you're going to make. Everything you do will be first party. Throw all of the names out. You are naming them what they are, what we all know you've been doing. You are going to rename them to who they are, and we're going to give you first party support for production, first party support for everything else, but I am describing what almost sounds too good to be true, therefore it will never happen."
Oh, here we go. I just found. All right, so this one is called the Toys Mage T Rex KO MP43, which is the Megatron from Beast Wars.
MP is Masterpiece,
I'm gonna send you.
which is a Transformers thing.
So,
That's a Hasbro line. The
so
Masterpiece collection, all this complaining I've been doing, the Masterpiece line supposedly are the collector-ish grade stuff. Masterpiece collection do start like 70 plus dollars, close to almost 100 for some of them or more. And the Masterpiece line
well,
are
this
generally
one's
really good.
this one's not
No, it's
Hasbro
not.
release. This is still third
But
party.
that's what they're
But
referencing
take a
by
look at
calling it
that.
that.
Yeah, take a look at that though. You're gonna be like, oh my god.
That is
Like if you didn't
show
already have
accurate.
to change your
That is
pants, you're
100% show
yeah, you're
accurate.
gonna change your
As
pants
someone
now.
who has looked at his CG face, that is 100% accurate to the show. That is.
Right?
They even got his
Yes.
shitty fucking mouth and it where it's a triangle. Like,
I think they also include the rubber ducky too.
oh fuck yeah. That's so stupid, but fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they include three heads.
uh,
Awesome. 100%.
yeah. See, don't you want it now?
I mean, not at that price.
Oh man, with where you're at right now in Beast Wars, have you gotten to the Transmetal 2 Megatron yet?
No, because that's like the last 3, 4 episodes of the show. He's
Is it? I
he's
didn't
only
realize
okay.
it was
I
that late.
forgot that
Okay.
existed. Not until the last time I watched Beast Wars. I literally forgot that mode even happened because it exists for like 4 episodes. It's basically one long sprint to the finale, and then you're over. He is Transmetal 2 for almost no time. In fact, Transmetal 2 as a word just got introduced with Cheetor, and they only do it to like 3 people.
I think it's Cheetor. No, it's Cheetor, Optimus. Technically, when you get
Optimus is
them,
a
and such when you
technicality
do get
because
them
he fused with Optimus Prime.
with the Matrix
Yeah, the
Deleter kit.
Matrix is
Yeah.
what did it, and he's not they don't even call him that. He's not technically Transmetal 2 in show.
When I got the toy, it was
I
considered
know, and that's a
Transmetal 2.
branding thing. What I'm saying is in the show, they use that word when Cheetor had his transformation, but they hadn't spoken it before then, as far as I was aware. I don't remember hearing
Hmm.
anybody say it. Because Optimus
Black Arachnia becomes
but
Transmetal
that
2.
still hasn't happened. So she's only Transmetal 2
Oh,
for like a few
spoilers.
episodes, and then whoop, that's out the window too. So
Yeah.
I forgot she had a
Um,
Transmetal 2 form.
and then
I also
Megatron.
forgot
Yeah.
that I don't really like the way it looks because the paint scheme is so awful.
It is a
Ugh.
little weird, but I just remember liking it because I'm like, hey, we got an
I
upgrade.
like, yeah, that logic tracks. That's RPG logic. Hey, it's an upgrade. Hey, they're quote unquote stronger, better, whatever. But other
Yeah.
than being an upgrade, I don't like the art design for it because it's like the colors feel like they clash. I don't like that her helmet is like a helmet. It like got bigger. It looks awkward. It should have been the same size it was before, where like it's a part of the design, but your brain
Oh,
doesn't register it as she's wearing a helmet.
so you know what's weird? And we'll talk more about this when we actually do the review of the show because, hey guys, just wanted to let you know
This
we're
is
going to do a
Oh, I'm
Beast Wars
sorry. Are you
special in
saying this
about a
is not
month.
the review of Beast Wars? This is just us dicking around?
Fuck no. Yeah, this is just
We
us
might have to
digging around
start
right
that
now
one
because
earlier,
it's the
because
season finale.
fuck,
We got to do
that
what we
one's gonna be
can.
long. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have more than just us. I know that.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So,
I'm really looking forward to having
at
other
least,
people to talk about this. This is gonna be like a that's gonna be like a 4 hour episode. God.
well, let's not make it
Ugh.
4 hours. We can't do that, especially with some people.
No.
Um, so when it comes to the Beast Wars toy line, do you remember a Transmetal Air Razor?
Okay, so here's the thing. In the show, almost
It
well, in
doesn't
the
happen.
show, a lot of shit didn't happen. For the toys, and this is a Hasbro thing. I know they do this. This is 100% how this works. Hasbro, since the original Transformers, has seen the shows they make as vehicles to sell toys. They have done it with everything.
Yes.
G.I. Joe, Transformers, every version of My Little Pony that you've seen on TV, including the one that blew up like a decade ago at this point because time is unforgiving. Um, all of those are purely to push toys as far as they're concerned. It's why all of the Transformers who die in the original movie die because they literally wanted them out of the
Because
way.
they wanted to put out the second wave. Yeah.
They did the same thing in Beast Wars. They fucking wrote out a bunch of characters, and I was like, I legitimately felt sad because I'm like, this show has such good writing. I like all of these characters.
Oh, that's
I
right.
was sad
You were
that they
speaking about
basically wrote out a bunch of characters when we get to season 2, and then they take 2 of them and they fridge them. And I'm like, come on!
I forgot you. There was one other Transmetal too, Dinobot.
Technically, yeah, but he's like a clone that they stuck half of the spark of another character who is a triple changer. Oh my god, it's so fucking complicated to resurrect him and just make him a
Oh,
yeah, they take
Rampage.
half.
Yeah.
Well, he took half of Rampage's spark because Rampage's spark is indestructible, and he did it so he could control him because Rampage is literally uncontrollable. Because imagine not being killable but also being insanely strong. There's no telling that what to do. It does what it wants. That's how it works. So he rips out or cuts out half of his spark so that he can force him to do stuff. And then he takes that half after having done that for a while, and he's like, yeah, actually. And they clone Dinobot, shove that, well, not even clone. They take a protoform, they shove Dinobot's DNA into the protoform so the body forms. They jam in this half of an indestructible spark, and then they turn it into Transmetal 2 Dinobot, and it's just janky as shit. It doesn't even act like him, so
Well, you're not at the ending
they brought the
yet,
voice
so
actor back. I'm glad he got
well,
work,
yeah, but you know
but
who is the voice actor?
I don't
Dude, it's
remember.
Rat Trap.
Oh, he does
Yeah,
both?
Scott
Awesome.
McNeil.
So he's just yelling at himself. There were whole episodes where it was just him in a room talking to himself.
Yeah, yes, shit like that.
Yeah, fucking great.
But we'll reserve more of that Beast Wars talk when we actually get around to reviewing it. But that is such a good show.
I'm not even done, and we haven't even touched Beast Machines, so
mm,
oh
mm,
boy.
mm. I'm gonna
Mm-mm.
say one thing about Beast Machines, and then we'll go on to the other thing I wanted
Huh?
to talk about. So I was thinking about Beast Machines earlier today. Now,
Were you?
obviously, Beast Machines is a sequel to Beast Wars, but almost in the loosest sense
Technically,
possible, right?
I would call it a spiritual successor if not for the fact that they did technically try to write it as a sequel,
Right.
but it is not the show that came before.
So, and this is without getting into spoiler territory. Like, it's gonna lightly touch on it, and then I'm gonna stop.
Okay.
So, at one point, Black Arachnia is searching for Silverbolt because Silverbolt
Yeah.
doesn't exist at that point.
Well, a lot of the characters get written off hard, just one of the
At the
many
very
changes.
beginning, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it begs the question, who's Silverbolt? And like, can she find him? Well, she ends up
Yes.
finding this bot that she thinks is Silverbolt, but is
Yeah.
somebody completely different. Um, there's this particular ending for Beast Wars. It's a very good ending. And some things are basically given to you on Front Street saying these particular bots are in this particular status, and that's how it is, right? Like, either they're on the
Mm.
Ark, they're going back to Cybertron, or they remained on Earth, back in prehistoric ages, right?
Right.
There is a bot who stays on Earth, and somehow they are in Beast Machine. I'm not going to say who,
Oh boy.
I'm not going to say why, but thinking about it, I'm like, what the fuck? So when you get to that ending of Beast Wars, and you start wondering, how did this
Hmm.
happen? I'm going to point it out to you, and then you're going to be like, okay, I'll hold on to that information. And then when we get to Beast Machines, you're going to be like, Sean, why the fuck did I watch this?
I
It's used for a
look. I'm
joke.
hoping for.
It,
Yeah, I'm hoping for a redemption arc for Beast Machines because there's a part of me that it's like, oh, I in my head it's in a similar category to World War Z, where
ooh,
like if you had
ooh,
called World War
ooh, that
Z
is that
anything
is that is
else.
mean. That is
So
mean.
here's why that's mean and kind at the same time. World War Z, the movie, is not based off the fucking novels or anything. It doesn't even have the same goddamn zombies. But if World War Z had been called any fucking thing else, people would have been fine with it. It would have been because it's a B movie and it's good.
That's
I
debatable.
divorced it. It's a B movie. It's a zombie flick. It is fine for what it is. It is a terrible adaptation of a really good piece of zombie fiction. It is an awful adaptation. That's why the original creator left and there was a bunch of turmoil and all this other shit. But it's a fine film. If they had just taken the L and said, at this point, this is basically not what we started with. Let's just call it something else. We'll have a nod in like the background, an Easter egg to World War Z. Like a character will be reading the book or some shit, but it's not going to be World War Z, and that's it. It would have been fine, and people would have been less mad.
Hmm.
But they didn't, and you can't change all of that and expect people to just go, "Oh yeah, that's exactly what I thought it would." No, it's like having an alien movie with no xenomorphs. It's a fucking alien movie. Why do you think they showed up? 2014 Legendary Godzilla. Why do you think
Wow.
people were there?
How dare you say something so wild yet so brave?
Oh, yes, so brave.
Oh, that's funny. Um,
It's one of those, and I feel like Beast Machines is on the cusp of being on its redemption arc in my brain where I'm like, If I just let it go hard enough from the source material, I call it a spiritual successor, whatever, and I just let it be itself, it will probably come off a lot better to me, and I'm open to that. Rather than seeing them completely destroy all the shit that I enjoyed for 53 episodes. Don't do that. That's
I,
angry.
I will
That is nerd
I will
rage.
tell you, like I said, and this might have been from a fever dream from having COVID, but for the most
Been
part,
there.
I enjoyed Beast Machines. There are some
Yeah.
critical things that I have to say about it,
I
but for
mean,
the
yeah,
most
but the
part,
things
I
you
enjoy
love,
it. That is coming
I
from a place where I originally hated it. Like, I legit
yeah.
bought the show out of spite so I could hate on it and then tell everybody how much I hated it.
And then you watched it and you're like, oh, actually,
And then I decided to take the Kevin Smith approach to it and be like, you know what? Just let it be. Only talk about what I like. And then it turned out I actually liked quite a bit about it. But that we'll
Yeah,
get to that when we
and
get to
that's the
that.
thing. We'll get to it when we do, and I feel like it's primed for that in my brain, and I mean, I'm open to it. So,
So,
but I feel like we should move on to the whole reason this
oh
exists
no, no, I have
now that
one
we've
more thing.
rambled. Yeah?
So, the thing that I watched before I
Hmm.
got my internet back and started playing video games again and had to work, I watched an anime called Cross Ange. I've told,
Rondo of, say the whole thing.
oh God, why no?
It's Rondo of Cross Ange, Rondo of Dragon.
Thank you. Ugh.
I just if you say Cross Ange, people are gonna be like, what? If you do Rondo of Dragon, that'll bring it up really fast.
I guess, but whatever.
Are you saying people shouldn't watch this show? Is that what I'm
It's
getting
not
from you,
like you
sir?
fucking can unless you own it. But anyways, um,
Yo ho, yo ho.
yeah, I'm gonna talk about that in
Hoist
a
the
minute too.
flag.
So, first off, this is a 25 episode series. It's basically one and
Oh,
done. Um,
yeah.
it's made by the people who did Gundam Seed, and it's also developed by
Hmm.
Sunrise. So take that as you
Mecha.
will. If you like Gundam Seed, awesome. If you don't like Gundam Seed, boy oh boy, are you in for a ride.
Oh boy.
So I haven't watched Gundam Seed all the way through. I think I've only seen the first 10 episodes, but the first 10 episodes is a little rough to get through. But I hear it
Eh,
gets much better after that.
I mean, there's an entire other sequel show, but yeah.
A sequel show that people don't like, but people like the movies
Ah.
apparently.
Well, those are also super high production value. They're not. The newest movie they put out like last year or this year isn't a compilation movie.
Oh,
It
it's a
looks like
brand
it's
new
filled
movie.
with
Yeah, it's a
like it looks
it
gorgeous.
takes place
Holy
after
crap.
Seed Destiny. So
Oh wow.
yeah,
That's worth watching then.
yeah. So this show has an interesting premise. It's racism and
Okay.
lesbianism, or however you want to say it.
What?
Racism and lesbians equal giant mecha fights.
So it's Yuri, girl like
Yes,
girl, and romance because girl like girl,
yes,
but also tons of racism.
yes. So the whole thing
Delightful.
is
We should watch
basically
88.
um
Speaking of racism.
so the whole thing about the show is about this princess. Her name is Angelis. She is the princess of this basically this empire that's
Hmm.
in charge of these people who have the ability to use mana, and these people who are mana users are considered the true humans, right? The
Right.
people who are
Standard racist type of thing. It's we have a special ability makes us better, blah blah blah.
right, and then people without mana
Mm.
are considered norma, or basically normals, and
Normal
are
because they
sent
had to have a fancy word because anime.
and they're sent away to a prison colony where they are forced,
Wow.
yeah, where they are forced to fight giant dragons that summon magic and everything, and they have to do it in basically giant mecha.
This actually sounds a lot like 88. I was joking, but
so
okay.
so Angelis, she just turned 16, and it's her birthday, and then as soon as she's going in for her 16th coronation or whatever, her brother decides to stage a coup and inform the entire public that she is a Norma. She didn't realize she was a Norma. Her mother and father basically kept that from everybody by hiring a maid who basically cast magic for her, right? So she had no idea that she couldn't cast magic. She was just under the assumption that she could, but someone else always did it for her. And before she even does this, she's like seen being trudged around the city and sees that this woman is like crying because they're trying to take away her baby, like these security cop guys are. And it turns out whenever they try to cast a prism around somebody who may be considered a Norma, if they walk through it, that prism will break, and it basically shows that they don't have any kind of magic ability whatsoever. And
Litmus test. Got it.
so Angelise, she looks at this woman. She goes like, "Oh my God, you have a filthy Norma kid. Well, we're gonna go ahead and take him away, but you remember you can always have another." Like she's just straight up an evil, awful person.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then as soon as her 16th birthday happens, she's found out to be a Norma. All the bad things happen to her. She is beaten by just about everyone, spat upon. Like all these horrible things. She's taken to the prison colony, and she's still under the belief that she needs to, go back home and try to be her princess self again because it's all a mistake. She thinks that being in the prison colony it's limiting her magic. Blah 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 blah. There's a lot of sexuality to this show. It's a bit well, I wouldn't say it's very weird because they do cavity searches, but it's almost done where it looks like it's a rape scene.
To be
And
fair, a body cavity search in reality is essentially assault.
yeah, but
It's just
against a
done
16-year
clinically.
old.
I
So
mean, we
that
do them in our prison system, so
I know, but they didn't show it, but you could hear her scream, and it just
yeah,
bothered me.
it's supposed to. The idea is you don't like it. You don't think it's good.
And then there's other factors where like the captain of the guard, she tries to force herself on the 16-year-old by like cutting off her clothes and like feeling her up, and you actually see her feeling her up on all the different ways, and then looks like she's about ready to force herself on her, but then all of a sudden there's a dragon attack.
Hmm.
So it's like, okay, that's a bit much, but trying to excuse that a little bit as much as I can to get into the actual story beats here. So these dragon are attacking, and all they can say is, well, we have to protect the humans from these dragon and try to make sure that the world can still survive for them. That's what we're here for. We don't have any magic ability. We'll just do what we can. So Angelise, after a series of events, finds out that she cannot be accepted by her family. Her entire family, the surviving family, hate her because she's considered a Norma.
Yep.
And so everybody who was once her friend just spits on her. They don't give a shit. And now her maid came to find her and it's like, I'm going to be here. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to pamper you as best as I can because I have been your maid since your birth, basically. So I'm going to do what I can in order to make things better for you. Now, Angelise goes through a physical and mental change. She no longer goes by Angelise. She goes by Ange. And it's because she's now a new person, basically. She ends up becoming this badass rogue female character who's just like one of the coolest characters who has her own way of redeeming herself, realizing that the way that she used to live was a horrible way to treat people, and she wants to make the world a better place almost by basically destroying it. Other things happen, and then they end up fighting God. So typical
Oh,
JRPG
look
nonsense.
at that. JRPG nonsense. And
Yeah.
then we fight God. Oh, is it Thursday already? Jesus.
And then you also find out this really cool thing. I'm gonna spoil it here, so if you don't want to hear it, close your ears for the next 5 seconds. The dragons are people.
Oh, God, was it everything people? What the hell?
Yeah.
The dragons are people. So are the chairs.
uh,
They're
it
just really kinky.
it just gets wilder and wilder. At one point, a giant dragon comes into the fray and like is doing a giant summoning circle, and it's about as big as one of the giant behemoths from Final Fantasy. It is monstrous, and
Mm,
the only way that they were able to win was because all the other people in Anja's team, they all ended up getting thrown to the ground and they couldn't get back up because of the monstrous power from the summoning spell. She comes
yep.
in 2 minutes later, sick as hell. Literally, she's sick. And she's like, oh, I don't know what I gotta do. Oh no, I'm falling. I guess I'm gonna crane my fall just a little bit further, take out my sword, and hope to hit him. It's like, all right. It was just, it's a lot luck, but then she's super skilled. And getting past all the sexual stuff and all the weird rapey vibes, it's actually a pretty decent show. But it also, in a weird way, it both takes itself seriously and not seriously at the same time. The way that they do the bumpers for each show, where it's like, next time on Crossange, like, why am I the main character? This show sucks. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? Like, they actually legit put that in the dub. And it
Nice.
turns out they also put that in the subs. So I thought that was something that we just did. Nope, that's them copying them. So it's like, okay, cool. And towards the end, I think it was actually the second to last episode. Like, why did we call this show Cross? Why did we call it Crossange? Oh, it's because I'm always cross? No, that's stupid. Shut up. I'm like,
That's
all
really
right.
dumb.
It was. So I will say, take this. If you want to watch it with a grain of salt, knowing that it gets really out there. But if you can handle some of the seedier aspects, see what I did there? With this, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. Uh, if you can handle that and then just accept it for what it is and try to get past all the really harsh parts, it ends up becoming
hmm,
a wild ride. And I can't tell you if it's good or bad because your mileage may vary.
yeah,
But it is interesting to say the least. Now,
I am.
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say I'm honestly surprised that you would give. I appreciate you saying it, but I'm surprised we're to hear your reaction to some of the less than savory aspects of the show because you routinely watch horror that goes way farther than this show even remotely did.
Well,
So I
well,
feel like your tolerance for it's a lot higher than the average person.
true. However, let's say this. I can watch Berserk easily. There is a scene where obviously there's a rape scene in that, and it
Well,
sucks
more
to
than one,
watch.
but yeah.
It sucks to watch, but the way that they do it, it's basically the main character and everybody else is who's like considered a hero character is getting screwed over by the bad guys, and it's the main
Yep.
character doing what he can in order to try and save that particular person from being harmed further.
Hmm.
And then it's just this whole thing. But then I also watched this other movie recently. It's a remake of an old horror movie called Last House on the Left,
Oh,
and
I got a remake?
yeah, it came back. It came out like in the early 2000s. It has Aaron
I didn't know it
Paul
got
from
remade.
whatchamacallit from Breaking Bad.
Hmm.
The problem with that though is that there's also a rape scene of a teenage girl in that one, and for some reason that was more violent and visceral compared to the rest of the movie, which is supposed to be violent action, like horrific action.
Hmm.
And for some reason that wasn't as bad as the rape scene, and the rape scene was like they focus on that for a solid minute and a half, almost 2 minutes long, and it's just like
Yeah.
that's a bit much.
Yeah. It could depends on how it's shot, how it's acted, how it's put together.
Yeah,
There's several shows I've watched that have deviance of a sexual nature in it, and the level of how uncomfortable this is changes based on show.
well, that's why I'm not watching
There's
redo of Healer.
yeah, also people made a big deal out of it, but it is pretty quick and over. Goblin Slayer has one scene of it in like
The
the
very
first
beginning,
episode,
yeah,
but it also is meant to show that is done on purpose and not as exploitation, in my opinion. That was
right.
not a fan service moment in a weird way. That was to show stakes, give you a reason that we're about to introduce you to someone who is probably more bloodthirsty than literally every other character in this show combined, and give you a reason why that would matter. Like, there's a reason goblins are so hated. This is why. And it also gives you a very grounded reason why they'd be hated. It's like they do not give birth to females. They have to find adjacent species to mate with,
I think
willing or not.
more
And that
people
makes
wouldn't have
sense.
been upset about that particular scene if they didn't see the thrust.
Well, that and rather than doing the off-screen yell and then saying it happened, they make you watch as they like pin her down and stuff. So it is
Yeah,
uncomfy, but it is also fairly short, and then that's it, and they never do it again. They don't go back to the scene in like a flashback or show it happened to someone else. No, it was done once. It's meant on purpose. Now you get it, and then we're just not going to show that anymore. And then there's the rest of the show. But
exactly. Yeah, at least the rest of the show is strictly just violence.
yeah. All the rest of it, it's brutal as shit, though. God,
Yeah, but it gets
he
fun.
is a
It's a
he
fun
is a
watch after that.
violent motherfucker. But yeah, the God, he does all sorts of twisted shit. But anywho, there's that. There's a show called, I think it's Rainbow, which, and this is a hard tonal shift to some of the stuff we've been talking about. This is a fictional retelling based off of firsthand accounts of actual people who, to set the stage, World War II, post Japanese loss, tons of children who are like just orphaned and they have nowhere to go and shit like that, and the government just like starts rounding them up and shoving them into orphanages, and some of them will commit crimes and wind up as offenders, so they get stuck into essentially juvie, but really, really awful juvenile detention where, the
Mm-hmm.
staff are doing terrible things to them and it's really not great. And there was a disclaimer before every single episode saying that, like, I think it was that it's done by a staff with multiple people from multiple backgrounds. There are very harsh things. It's essentially a warning. This show has dark shit in it. If you do not want to watch it, fine. Here is your warning. And yeah, it has a bunch of really dark, terrible shit in it because it's based off of accounts where that happened. And it happens to some of the characters and people they know, and there's violence and it's awful, but it's meant as part of the story. They also don't make you like watch it happen. They get the point across, that's what you're seeing happened. This person is terrible. This thing happened to this person. But a lot of it is partly off screen and you're not like watching the scene occur. You
Mm-hmm.
know it happened and then you're done. So while it is dark subject matter, you're not partaking in the scene, which is as passive a medium as watching something is. When you have to watch the entirety of it and you're not getting cliff noted, that's when you become a part of the scene, and that's what can become very, very uncomfortable for people, which is good. I think it's good if you find it uncomfortable. Congrats. That means you have your brain is like, ooh, this isn't good. That's good. That's a good reaction to have. Also, fair warning, some of these shows have this stuff in it. But
Yeah, that yeah.
Goblin Slayer didn't
um
have any warning. They literally just aired the first episode, and everybody was like, "Whoa!" And there
yeah,
was
they
no warning.
corrected that real quick.
Yeah, they did that, and then it just never happened again. And you're like, okay. I don't know if
Yeah.
they were supposed to do it again, or if that was just it only happens once in the manga again on purpose. But yeah, that happened once. Everybody freaked out, and that doesn't happen for the rest of the show.
Yep. So getting back to Cross Ange, now what I mentioned earlier is that you can't really watch this show anymore
Oh nope, nope,
because,
nope.
as far as I'm aware, it's listed on Crunchyroll, but
It
it's
is.
not there.
Oh yeah, they have. That's one of their. I call it a ghost listing, where it's there
Uh huh. They do
because
that with almost
Crunch.
all their shit.
That's because they had it, but the license went away, and now they don't got no more, and that's it.
Well, it was licensed by Sentai Filmworks, who is for High Dive. High
Uh,
Dive also, as far as I'm aware, no longer has it either.
nope.
And along with a whole bunch of other shit, which I will get into here in just a second,
uh,
that they released on Blu-ray and DVD that were originally on High Dive that are no longer there either.
nope.
And so, here's the interesting thing that also pissed me off and made me wary of all the shit that I buy.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I went to SentaiFilmworks.com, because we're going to go ahead and say that I know exactly where I got these,
Yeah.
I got them when they were on sale. Now, Cross Ange, I managed to get for $18 with shipping. The
That's
entire
cheap.
show.
That's crazy cheap.
Yeah, I think shipping was $5, so I only paid really 13 for it.
Jeez.
Um, and it was just on sale. For shits and giggles, I decided to look up Cross Ange to see. All right, how much is it going for right now? Will, I went to Amazon. Do you know what the listing was for an unopened box of Cross Ange was?
I think you sent me one, but I don't remember if it was unopened. I can ballpark it though. I'm gonna say 250
Go
to
ahead.
300.
400
400.
unopened.
God, why? I know why, because it's a supply and demand thing. And this is that whole that whole stupid thing of how do companies sit on these things, give them out to no one, nobody makes any money on it, but they're allowed to just sit on it like a dragon hoarding treasure. I don't
Right?
understand. I don't personally understand why that's legal, because If you had never released it, I feel like we could have a nuanced conversation. You released it before. In the past, you made money on it physically and digitally, and all of a sudden now you're just no. Why? What you don't get to complain as an industry. None of you. You all sit down and shut up. The music industry, musicians are being robbed, but not just by illegal downloads. They're being robbed by the legal version too, with Spotify and all that shit 'cause they don't pay them. But
Hmm.
they that music industry genuinely harmed by downloads. That is not how this works. You do not produce something, sell it, stop selling it, then raise your hand and bitch and moan that somebody has to go pirate it to watch your thing. Dude, you couldn't get it legally now. You're gonna make $0. I pay 400 for that CrossEng. You don't make any money. You made the original MSRP back when it was sold. And that's it. You're done. Now it's secondhand market. You don't doesn't touch
Exactly.
you. Your coffers get nothing. And because it's not streaming, you're not getting a secondary paycheck from anybody else. So I do not understand why
So
companies
now
do
I'm
that,
looking to see what they've got on
even
eBay
less than
for it,
I
right?
understand why they have
So
decided to start vaulting whole things for tax reasons. That's stupid. But I do not get at all why you would have a product, release it, make money, it's part of your catalog, and then just stop. Why? I get why you wouldn't produce physical media. Fine, we can have
well,
that conversation. But you're not even going to do it on streaming? It's hosting a file, dude. Come on. It's not that hard.
I know. I agree completely.
And I know
I
it's
knew we were going
because
to get into this
companies
topic, and
are all
I had a
bickering
feeling.
like children. It's just because they're bickering like kids and they're doing the game of, well, I don't want anybody else to make money on it. I want to be the only one making money. And that's the stupid fucking conversation. I don't understand that logic. I get that logic in a super hardcore business sense, but I do not understand that logic in a, okay, but if both of you say no, like the Sneetches from Dr. Seuss, uh, if neither of you moves forward. That's how that works. Nobody makes money, and you're both like, fine. And it's like, no, that's stupid. I'll give you a hint. Any number above zero is a number above zero. And with streaming being so easy, you could just be stacking cash off of streaming. I don't understand.
I agree. I completely agree.
But
So
that's where we
I
will
ended
leave
up
it.
looking up the other things that I happened to buy, such as the Pat Labor Complete Collection Blu-ray set. That's
Oh, yeah.
also incredibly expensive now because you can no longer
Yeah.
buy that,
No, they keep
and
doing
it has
weird
its
limited
no.
runs for Pat Labor. I don't know why. It's never consistent. They'll
They
print it for like 6 months and then they cut it off.
Big O is no longer available on there. You have to
Oh,
get
that
it
dropped
third party through
again?
Amazon.
That's really
Yeah,
expensive. Well,
but here's the thing: I bought the collector's edition version, steelbook version.
oh wow.
That thing is also worth a lot of money now.
Again, because they're strangling
uh,
it because nobody can see it.
yep. And then on top of that, there was Higurashi. Higurashi is also incredibly
Yep.
expensive.
Hmm.
And it's just like I legit bought all these when they were on sale, so I got them all for like $30 or cheaper than that.
Hmm.
And because Sentai Filmworks just happens to have really good sales sometimes. Like I even got a I want to say it's a overlooked, but yeah, it's an overlooked series called Wizard Barristers.
That sounds familiar.
Um,
I don't know if I've seen it, but it sounds
so
familiar.
it's about a girl who uses magic to defend her clients,
Yeah, it's
and it was
barrister,
originally
like literally lawyer in I think Britain.
yeah,
They are
and it
wizards
was
and they are lawyers.
it was originally conceived as a spin-off from Ace Attorney.
Oh, okay, that explains some of the tone that I think I've seen in it.
Yeah.
That
It's also full of fan service.
is.
Because I mean, she's a pretty girl, but there's this frog that talks to her, like an actual frog,
Yep.
and every time he gets a chance, he jumps into her cleavage.
Yep. Classic anime moment right there. Boobs.
Yeah.
Like a 12-year-old.
And then there's this girl or this woman who's also the devil who feels her up too, and it's played as comedy.
Well, it's the same thing with
Again, it's fan service, but it's not as
well, it's the
bad.
same thing with Seven Deadly Sins, where
I
Elizabeth
haven't watched
exists
that.
purely to have her boobs grabbed.
Uh yeah,
Yeah.
but the show is good, and it's considered a mecha show because the magic that she uses, she conjures up this metal spirit that's basically a mecha that she pilots in
Nice.
order to face other wizards while they're committing crimes.
Nice.
The show's bonkers. It's only 12 episodes long.
Oh,
However, you can't buy that anymore on Sentai,
nice.
and it's never been streaming on High Dive.
Really?
Yep.
Well, I guess I'll
So,
never watch that show either. Fun.
well, guess what? I own it, so
Yeah,
you'll eventually borrow it from me.
I will try to. That might be the only way it happens.
Yeah. So it's a good thing I made these investments because I'm literally sitting on a gold mine at this point.
Yeah, it's also stupid that it's a gold mine. And as much as I love that your things have appreciated, I feel like you'd agree with me. You'd much prefer they dive back down to their original price, meaning people
Oh,
can enjoy them
absolutely.
again, and you're not like buying diamonds. What the
Right. It's
hell?
like when I bought. I think I mentioned this before, but I bought the Dual DVD box
Oh
set.
yeah.
Um, I bought that for I think it was about $250, $300 almost. I got that on eBay because it was the entire box set of the series. It's a really cool looking box set.
Hmm.
And about a year later, they announced the Blu-ray re-release for $50.
Hmm. That stings a little.
And I bought it. I bought that too. But I'm like, you know what? This is a DVD box set that I do not want to get rid of because it just one, it meant a lot to me when I was in my childhood. But two, it's also something like along the lines of like Evangelion. Like you want to make sure that you have the original release too, along with the new Blu-ray
Well, that's
releases
because
because
they've done the dubbing thing where now whole dubs are owned by companies
yes,
and they do not reprint them because in Japan, apparently they record a show once and it's one and done, even if it's 50 years old. And in America, they just keep redoing it. So you have
well,
two dubs for Escaflowne and Evangelion.
to be fair, the Escaflowne one, I ended up getting it the Blu-ray version where it actually has the original dub because I bought the perfect collection for it.
Oh, yeah, I think you had to, that was like I think almost double the price of the other one.
Yeah, it's a really nice
It
set.
is.
So, anyways, yeah, Cross Ange, interesting show. I think it's worth checking out. It's really up to how you feel about it once you get past certain things to see if you want to stick around with it.
Hmm.
But it's definitely an interesting show. That's the best way to describe that. So, with all that out of the way, I think it's time that we go on to our season finale here.
Yeah, I'm gonna just minor spoiler. We only watched two episodes this week, not three, because two of them are fused together because they're part four and part five of last week's multi-part thing, or like five and six. It's a lot of episodes altogether.
That is true. And what's interesting about this is that I didn't hate them.
No, they're not terrible. The tone shift going from that to 27 is fucking confusing because
Yeah, my
did
bad.
I did what?
So I had originally told Will, like, hey, we're gonna go ahead and record episodes 25 through 27 tonight,
Hmm.
and he watched them, and I got to watching the episodes today, and then it just stopped at 26. I'm like, oh, well, let me look at my box. Oh, it's only 1 through 26 on here. Where's 27? 27 through 52 are on box 2.
Hmm. Which is why because they're considered season two in America.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, my bad. So you ended up watching that last episode. You said that there's like a complete tonal shift.
Well, it's because 20, the first two episodes are the conclusion. They have, like, they're just continuations of the last three episodes. And then after that very clear end, the very next episode, 27, is one of those out of, like, pocket, totally unrelated to everything else going on in the show. We're just going to do silly, dumb stuff. I don't know if you
Okay.
watched it, but
Got it.
it's totally
No, I didn't.
it's totally unrelated and has nothing to do with the main plot. It's just another silly rubber robo plot episode where they have a scheme.
So let's see if I can find out where 27 is for the US release. So looking at the
It's
thing
something
here,
superstar.
it's literally number 6.
It's episode six. Are you fucking kidding me? Why? What was with it? That's why it feels so out of place too, because it has none of
Yeah.
the character development that they just did, none of the changes. It's before any of the major things because going by what you told me, I technically just watched episode 32 and then jumped back to 6.
You watched episode 39.
39? That's almost the end of the show. Fucking I'm glad we don't do this anymore. There's no reason for it. It's just
No,
so
there
they can
isn't.
they can artificially create a season 1 that they like, because in an American show, you don't know if you're getting a season two. I get that. But at the end of a season, you need a big moment and you need to have an ending, and this is a quote unquote ending.
Yeah.
And then you have
Yeah.
to wiggle yourself around for another bunch of episodes for filler. Technically 27 counts as filler, but it's fun, it's
So
silly, and
are
I
we gonna
enjoy it.
commend these 2 episodes, or are we just gonna bitch about them?
No, 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 they're great. They're fantastic. I laughed, I cried, I had a child.
What? All right. These episodes do run together, so I think we're just
Yeah,
gonna go ahead and tie it into
we could just
as a
talk
plot for
about them.
one.
We'll start it
Just
where the 25 starts,
last
and
time on
there you
Medabots.
go. Yeah, and then we'll just talk, and we can jump around those 2 episodes because stuff happens in both. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So basically, it picks up from the last episode
Hmm.
where Icky was and the gang are trying to save Medaby from the Rubber Robo
Yep, he
gang.
is in a tube,
Um,
and it goes from green to red. Red is bad,
yeah.
just so you know.
and Rokusho is fighting the Bazelgas.
Yeah, well, he
Is that what
defeated
they're
them,
called?
so they're knocked out, and this starts with right after he knocked them out.
And he had some sanctimonious bullshit where he's like, "Yeah, I don't want to kill them. They're not doing bad. They're just doing bad things because of the humans." Like,
Yeah, he
motherfucker.
separates the actions of the robots from the actions of the humans, totally jumping over the fact that most Medabots are, I think the term is sapients, where they're not fully realized, so they're not sentient. Whereas
Mm,
the difference in this show, I would say 90% of Medabots have sapience, 10% are rare metals with true sentience, a la Medabi, Rokusho, probably a couple more we'll
right.
bump into, and that's true sentience where they can make their own decisions, have their own free will, and have a sense of self that is what we have. AKA, you can talk to them long enough and then they'll have an existential crisis and they'll get worried about stuff. Hooray! Anxiety.
Speaking of existential crises, so he ends up defeating the Bazelgas, and they all go rush in to save Medaby.
Hmm.
And in the process of doing that, the evil leader, who is what was the leader's name? Because I know what the true leader's name is, but did he have the same one, or is it a different one?
The bad guy who runs the rubber robos is called Doctor Meta Evil. I know, super original.
Right, but I. Mm-hmm.
Meta
Uh,
Evil, Meta Bot. We're really leaning into it.
yeah, I know. But was that the name of the guy that they ended up fighting next?
Uh, yes, the guy who turns his limbs into it because he's a fucking cyborg.
Okay, so let's get into that real quick. That I was not
I
expecting
know.
at
I totally
all.
forgot that happened. I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool. Also, the funny part is, I made a comment in my notes how he's so much taller in the flashback, and then they reveal that he can like warp the parts onto himself, and I'm like, oh my god, he's literally, they gave a reason. He's smaller now because he's a fucking Metabot. So he shrank down
Yeah,
because he's Metabot sized. Holy shit.
I was not expecting that
No,
at
that came
all.
out of
Like, good
nowhere, and I was
lord.
like, "Whoa!"
That's what drew me in, honestly. I'm like, holy shit.
Uh-huh, right?
So Dr. Meta Evil decides to take Metabee's rare
Hmm.
metal and start conscripting all the other beetle type
So
Medabots, I guess, that are in the area or maybe in the
on
world,
the
and
entire,
start causing
so we
havoc.
need to explain real quick why that works. So the rare
Please
metals.
do, because I was a little
Oh, you were?
confused as to
Okay,
why.
so the
Well,
explanation they give is pretty generic sci-fi. The rare metals are rare because they are technically the original true metals, which we
oh, you're
found.
going into the lore
They are
specifics.
part of an ancient civilization, blah, 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 sci-fi bullshit explanation. Come on, it's ancient civilization. That was the reason. So the rare metals are quote unquote rare because they're not copies. Most Metabots
Right.
are normal metals. Normal metals are literally just a copy, which is why they're watered down. They can't use the metaphors. They don't have sentience because they're a copy. And that's the secret. That's the big reveal. Now, the reason this works is because Medieval, when he gets his hand on a rare metal, is able to essentially use it to hijack all the copies. So Metabee is one of the original beetle metals. When he puts him in his machine, he can hijack full control of all of the copied beetle metals and make them do whatever he wants. and that
Now, okay, that makes
that is
sense.
why.
But my question is, why did all these other Medabots? Why did they all have beetle metals in them? Like, why does Brass, or as we did find out the full name, Sailor Multi, also known as Brass, why did she have a beetle metal?
I would
Why did
say
those other bots in the factory
I would say
have
they
beetle
have
metals in
it
them?
because the beetle metal is heavily based around munitions and shooting. Brass is a gunner. She has rifles or guns on her wrists. That's actually her attack. That's she looks like Sailor Senshi, but she shoots. That's how she fights. She technically is Metabee
So,
without a head missile launcher. That's literally functionally the only difference. She is exactly the same as him. She has a machine gun on one hand and a rifle on the other. She is equivalent to him. She's just missing heavy munition. So I would argue
so
most of the gun ones are probably beetle metals, and that's why all of those characters were kind of shooty related.
I can understand that. That makes sense to me. So thank you for saying
I'm
that.
that's headcanon. They
Uh,
don't go that deep, but that makes sense.
I was about to say, I think I still want to do some research on the actual metal types to find out exactly why they would do that.
Yeah.
Because your logic there makes sense, but just seeing that play on screen, it's like why? Like when you see that right in front of you, oh yeah, all these beetle types. Like, well, this is Sailor Senshi,
Well, remember,
and then
beetle type
yeah,
is metal type, not body type.
right, but then you've also got, well, technically with Metabee, but considering he's a rare metal, I guess that's
What do you
different.
mean?
But like that whole type when he's or time when he's trying to go around for the watermelon.
Oh yeah, that was a one-off joke. They never touch on it again. I was.
Yeah, but that still made sense for the beetle metal
It also
itself.
would make sense why it worked on him, but we'd never see them do it with anyone else because he's one of the originals, so he is actually more like a natural creature because of how advanced he is, as opposed to your normal ones who are basically robots. So they're automatons. They don't react
Right.
exactly like that. They don't do that because that's animalistic. That's almost a form of intelligence on its own. So they wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
We are heavily
So
headcanoning though. I genuinely don't know. I'm sure in the games they explain all this
yeah,
shit. Just like you get
maybe
like 5 minutes of cutscene where you're just reading a short novel.
I'd get around to it, but I'm too busy playing Metaphor
Ugh.
right now. But so I lost my train of thought. Oh, there we go. So they're basically turning all these other Metabots who have that particular metal type into their
It's the
slaves, and
Yeah, it's
so
the Dr. Wily
everybody's either
button.
running away or trying to defend him.
It's
Yeah.
the Dr. Wily button. They hit the button, all of the robots go crazy and start blowing stuff up.
Yep. And Icky is trying to face Doctor Meta Evil.
Yes.
Uh, stupid fucking name.
You really don't like it. You
um.
really don't like it. It hurts you every time you say it.
Yeah. And then they also say Meta Busy
Oh
twice.
yeah, I knew. I
Whatever.
when he said it, I was like, "Ooh, Sean's gonna hate that part."
No, I hated it.
Oh,
I didn't mind Meta Busy. I hated the fact that as soon as I knew that the Metaforce was coming, I'm like, God damn it, they said the fucking line again. But,
your
um,
your pain is
dude,
tangible.
I rock.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so, uh, it's Similodon, Rokusho, and Peppercat. They all try to go against Doctor Meta Evil, who is constantly swapping out parts,
Mm-hmm.
uh, to his body, and he's basically cackling it up like a B rated villain in some sort of like low budget sci-fi thriller, and it's just bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
And then Icky decides, hey, have Similodon shoot me with this anti-gravity ray.
Yeah.
Like,
He
okay.
gives them the Teddy gravity gun arm that he has. He gives it to Similodon, and he's like, "All right, shoot me," and then they launch him to the other side of the room,
My favorite line for that is like, I hope you have insurance.
which is a valid thing to say. Oh
um
man.
and then while he's being launched, he's actually trying to go and unleash Metabee from his
Yep, he
cage.
wants to save him from
So
the
he's just
tube of
knocking
doom.
into it, and like all the other Metabots end up getting knocked out.
Hmm.
Metabee ends up coming out, and then they still like decide to fight Doctor Meta Evil, and they manage to overcome him. And it turns out he's a full-on
Oh
Metabot.
yeah, no,
Apparently,
he's not.
he even has a
He's
medal.
not a person who became a cyborg. He's legitimately a Medabot. His back pops open, a
Yes.
metal pops out, he stops functioning. And yeah, that's when they reveal that he's well, they say that he's a copy of Dr. Meta-Evil, aka Dr. Meta-Evil's out there, but he has robot minions around the world, and this is one of them. They're doing that type of thing, I think.
Yeah,
It gets
it's
weird though. How does it get weird, Sean?
oh
It
god.
gets real weird in
Uh,
about 5 seconds after that.
so then there's a cat that comes out, and it's a cat that you've seen multiple
Hmm.
times before. It has like this little
Hmm.
visor on, and the true Doctor Meta Evil is actually getting the cat to steal the metal
So, okay,
and then go install it into something
so
called Giganko.
hold on a second before we go. I got confused at this part. Are they saying that Dr. Meta-Evil, the real one, is like way off and he's telling the cat to do stuff? Or was the cat the true villain all along? Like,
So
I
okay,
got confused.
I'm with you
Were they
on this.
trying to
I'm
say the
totally with
cat
you
can
on this.
speak and the cat is also a person? Or is the cat just really
So
well trained and loves Dr. Meta-Evil and so he can tell the cat to do things? Like, I don't.
I think he can control the
Yeah,
cat.
because it has the visor on, so like he can give it commands or whatever. But yeah,
Right, because it looks like how Mewtwo when he was in the in his little tank and
yeah.
he had all that
Well,
shit
there's
on him.
also a chance
It looks like that, but for the
the
cat.
parrot that we all know looks exactly like a parrot, but 100% is a robot. Maybe that cat's a robot too, so he's just like piloting it. He's just telling it what to do. It's really smart, but he's just telling
I
it what to
didn't think
do.
of that.
Yeah, that I just thought of that because that would also explain it. The Doctor Meta-Evil, because the visor has a cable coming out of it, so maybe the visor is like giving him a connection to the cat, and he's like, it
Hmm.
it maybe it also talks and he can tell it to do things and it functions like a cat, but he can also be like, hey, I need you to do, and he can give it a really complicated command and it'll actually do it because it's a robot, not an
Right.
actual cat.
Well, when they face it in the next episode, the cat is like on the I wouldn't even call it the bridge, but like on the outside portion of Giganko,
Yeah.
and it's all it does is it hisses and then Metabee shoots at it.
Yeah, he
I'm like,
does.
fuck. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is that when Icky's trying to release Metabee from that tank, they're all like, "Icky, why are you doing this?" He's like, "Cause he would do the same for me." I'm like, "No, he fucking wouldn't."
I mean,
Yeah. Also, we get a surprise cameo from a certain seller.
what?
The chick seller is now a
Oh yeah,
rabbit
he's moved
seller.
on. The chickens all grew up. It's just not as popular. He has 100% moved on to rabbits. He essentially gives them a speech about never giving up, and he uses his own experience of being crushed by major pet chains because he's just a lowly pet seller, and he's just getting
Oh
wrecked
my god.
by like Petco and stuff.
He, I gotta wonder if we're gonna
Uh,
see a different animal in the next season.
mhm.
I have to wonder.
Well, technically, this
Um,
is episode 39, so he moved on to rabbits. Maybe we'll go back to chickens because
it's
gonna leap
possible.
around.
It's it's absolutely possible.
Hmm.
So from there, Giganko shows up, and it's this kaiju
Uh,
like Medabot that has like extra layers on it, and it's basically I guess a jumbo-sized version of Bazelga.
no, it looks nothing like Belzoga. It's a giant version of the last thing they had, the uh, the what's it Emperor? The
Oh, not the Getter Emperor.
No, it's the only thing that they have fought now 3 times. They fought it once and it chased them into the sewers and they beat it, and then they fought it a
Oh
second
yeah, the
time
one that
on.
Tuxedo Mask ended up having to
Yeah, they
knock
they
down. That's
beat it
right.
on top of the burning lab house, and now they're fighting.
Yeah,
I'm a little disappointed because it's literally just that, but you keep click dragging to make it bigger. It's literally just that.
they literally did that.
It's
Yeah.
not it's not different in any. The only difference is this one at one point they focus their attacks and they get through the armor on what would be the lower part, and it ejects that armor, and then like full on armored core ejects it and then walks with normal legs. So it has the giant like centipede looking body, and then it has the normal legs inside that.
So, Will, I have a question
Hmm.
for you. So we see this
Yep.
thing. What was the next big thing that we see right after that?
What do you mean big thing? The city? Buildings?
Oh,
Blows it up?
no, no,
The
no, no.
giant
It
stone that opens up and Gianco comes out of?
Oh, you don't
That
remember. Okay. So, it was a kaiju-sized referee.
Oh, jeez. Man, yeah, I forgot about that.
he shows up. He goes like, "Okay, for today's match," and he's literally the size of the giant Medabot that they're off the face. He's like, "Okay, this is going to be a sanctioned row battle," and then I don't remember exactly what happens, but I think somebody knocks him down, or maybe they change his perspective. But then he ends up falling to the ground, and he's back to
Hmm.
normal size. It's
I
like,
think it was just they
what
were
the
playing with
fuck?
perspective. I also like that for the first time in the entire show, everybody looks at Mr. Referee and goes, "Are you serious right now? We're trying to save
Yep.
the world. This is not a sanctioned match. What is wrong with you?"
Oh, but that comes into play
I
later,
know.
so weirdly, but it
I
does.
love that they all look
Um,
at him and go, "Dude, stop."
yeah. So this one's actually plot wise, it's pretty
Yeah,
short.
we've just
Um,
described like 80%
it's
of it.
Yeah. So the thing decides to go and attack the city, and it's on its way over to Metabot
Yeah, it's
Corporation
trying to get to
to
their
basically go and
percent. It wants to
destroy
go
it.
to their main office and blow them up because, well, Medieval hates them. So,
Right. And the three Metabots that try to take on first are Rakusho, Metabee,
hmm,
and Arcbeetle, which is
you're gonna
Tuxedo
keep calling
Masks.
him that.
Yeah, I might as well because I might as well. But it's their Metabot, and they decide to use metaphors on it. Which again, as I said, you got your fucking catchphrase every time that he loads it up. It's like, come on, no, fuck you. I get why they do it now. I still hate it, but they all do like three metaphors attacks on it, and they manage to damage it enough to the point where it decides to let go of its outer layer so it can still move on into the city. Then Icky and Metabee, they start, running as fast as they can to try and catch up and get on top of the bot. They shoot at the cat, like I mentioned before, and they're like, "Well, how are we gonna win this? Wait, didn't the referee say that this
Oh
was
yeah, they go through the
a
logic of,
sanctioned
wait, he
match?"
said it's an official match, which means there must be a medal and we must be able to eject it. That is some Adam West Batman level logic, and I love it. And they're right. They're 100%
Yep.
right, but I love it. They
So what did they
opened
do,
the
Will?
massive fuck off back panel on this thing that is like the size of a house. That back panel is like 50 feet across. And in the center of this giant opening is a normal sized metal, way in like the tiny middle. So they have to climb even more to get into the center of it so they can hit a button to pop it out. So they're spending,
Literally,
yeah,
it's
no,
just hit a button.
100%. It's hit a button to pop it out. And that's how they do it because they cannot win. This thing is so fucking big that they can't hurt it. The what is essentially the military shows up and they can't hurt it. Also, the
Oh
yeah,
yeah, guess who's in the
well,
military?
it's not the military. They call them the Special Corps,
Special
and
Corps.
they're specifically a, I assume, government agency, or they work for the Medabot Corporation. They are outfitted with essentially military grade Medabots and trained like the military, so that they can deal.
Okay, these bots were
Oh,
really fucking cool. I just want to say
they
that
were,
right
because
now.
that's the one thing they haven't shown. It's like, okay, Medabots, toys for children, but also you can outfit them for war and build them for soldiers, and they become drones, and that's what they are.
Will, we got
Oh yeah,
Dinobots.
they were dinosaur. Well, okay, so they all have dinosaur-related names. One of them was like based on a pterosaur. One of them was supposedly based on a T-Rex, but I didn't really see it. And then it,
Yeah.
and then the third one, I think they don't name explicitly, but it looks a lot like a lizard dinosaur kind of thing too. So they're all
Yeah.
animal themed, which is cool. But you also see Icky's dad works for the Special Corps, so his dad is a fucking metafighter by trade. Not only that, he's
So
basically in the goddamn military. His dad is probably better than him.
so I think that I deserve a little credit here for calling this out in the
Oh
wrongest way
God.
possible. Way back when.
What version of this did you try to call?
The fact that he is a meta fighter,
Yes,
so to
you thought he
speak.
was Phantom Renegade, but yes.
Yeah.
You
So,
know what's really
I
funny? His
deserve some
dad's in the
credit.
Special Corps. They talk about it a lot, but they point out that their family doesn't have a lot of money. So are the Special Corps paid like jack shit? Like, wait a minute.
I'm assuming so because yeah, I'm
Because if
assuming
his
so
father's
because
in it and their family doesn't have a lot to the point where his dad does a thing and he looks at his son who wants to basically do what he does for a living, and instead of like trying to bond with him over it or like do something, it's like, no, we just don't have the money, you're not going to get that. It's so weird.
Hmm.
But I mean, his parents have
Yeah.
always been written really fucking weird, so I'm not surprised.
So when they eject the
Yeah.
metal from the large bot, referee comes in and goes like, "Hey, you guys won the match, but you're fouled for actually physically
And they
ejecting the
yet
metal." I'm
again
like,
look at him and go, dude, seriously, everyone was in danger. Who cares? uh,
and apparently he decided to roll back on his foul
no, that's not what he did.
because them winning this particular fight. Actually, if you listen to what he says before they end the episode, when they do like the roundup of all the different things, he goes like, "Yeah, so they fought and yeah, it was a foul, but it's okay because they wanted to save
Oh,
everybody."
well, so they
Literally,
do
that's all he
that, but they
says,
do
and
that
that's it.
as a we're not going to hold it against them because it was to save everyone, so whatever. But the reason that so they tie all this up, we get our epilogue, and then they talk about the tournament, and they show Icky being okay with being number four because he's like, dude, it's fine. We literally saved the world. I don't give a shit. And Metabee's like, yeah, we are
Hmm.
pretty fucking cool, and they're both just like vibing and chilling, and
And then they both get kicked in the face.
yeah, Eureka's violent.
Arika and that other little
Oh yeah, the
turd
kid you really
thing.
don't
I can't
like,
remember his
the
name.
Shonen Pro Tag. Just
The
call him
Shin
Shonen
Chan
Pro
looking
Tag. That's what he
motherfucker.
is. He walked on from another show.
Ugh, God. Yeah.
So
But
they
go on.
edit. They're like, "Hey, didn't you hear?" And you find out that Icky's going to be representing the country, and then referee says, "So a lot happened. What happened scoring wise is when you faced Tuna Head under his real name, that counted as a point for you." And I'm not even gonna go. I don't fucking care. Fine, that's the reason that they're gonna be in the tournament. Cool, they're in the tournament. Realistically, that's their excuse, being like, we can't not have the kid who faced a like 20-story tall Medabot represent our. Are you insane? We're not going to put that guy on our national team? What are we, dumb? Of
Right.
course we are. For propaganda alone, he's in. But yeah,
Yeah,
it
and
just
then it
ends, and
just
they don't tell you who
ends.
the other two were. So like, who got kicked out? Well,
Oh, I'm
we
pretty
it's
sure we know who it
Sumilidon
is.
and
It's supposed to
Phantom
be.
Renegade. But Phantom Renegade, wouldn't he get disqualified for literally being a criminal?
I mean, they. It's not Phantom Renegade. It's
Yeah, Space Metafighter X,
Phantom
but
whatever his name
everybody
is.
knows he's Phantom Renegade
Yeah,
now.
Space
So,
Metafighter X.
hmm?
I mean,
Oh yeah, no,
this
I
this
know.
show
But it just
goes all over
ends
the place.
almost, to be totally honest, that almost feels like the end of the show. Like that almost felt like the final episode. I was like, okay,
Well, we were
yeah,
definitely gonna get a
which we
tournament arc right
don't,
after that.
but okay. I
Yeah.
yeah.
So my favorite thing from this episode was literally a line that it was meant to be. I don't know if it's meant to be understood differently, but as Metabee and Icky are climbing up to the top, Metabee is holding on to Icky's hand because he almost didn't make it, and Icky goes, "Are you okay?" And Metabee goes like, "As long as you don't let go." And Icky goes, "Not a chance." Now here's the thing: the way I took it is, as long as you don't let go, there's not a chance that I'm not gonna
Oh, you
let
are
go.
really reading into that.
Yeah, that's the way I took it. I know it was meant to be as in I'm not gonna
So.
let go, but the way it was delivered made it seem like that he's like, you know what,
hmm
fuck you. That's the way it seemed to me. But
I will say
I
I
digress.
you did
I enjoyed these episodes.
nice.
Yeah, I liked it. Oh, wait, no, there's one other thing
Uh huh.
that I thought was weird. At the very end, it's Phantom Renegade, Doctor Aki,
Right.
talking about rare metals and how they
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
make
Blah blah
sure that
blah.
they
We
try
must
to
keep fighting.
keep them
Blah blah
away
blah.
from.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
then
know.
Rokusho shows up. Except Rokusho is in darkness. All you see is his eyes. I'm like, did they run out of budget?
I mean,
That's the
I
only thing I
so a
was
couple
thinking
of
there.
things that I do want to talk about. One, I absolutely adored the fact that Giganco kept screaming its attacks for no reason. I loved that. It was
Oh,
so
that also
goofy.
reminds me. You I actually wrote this down in my notes and I thought it was funny. So when they're all facing
Mm-hmm.
him to do their Metaforce attack,
Yep.
they all yell out Metaforce. Metabee goes like Metaforce. Rakusho Metaforce. Fucking Arc sounds like One-Eyed Willie from the Goonies.
That's so.
Metaforce.
I don't know what direction they gave to Arcbeetle's voice actor, but Arcbeetle always sounds really weird. I don't know why. And that's just
Yeah.
kind of how Arcbeetle works. It's a very weird delivery, and I know it's on purpose because they either told them to do that or they came in and they were like, do blank, and they're like, yeah, that sounds good. And they went with it. But Arcbeetle always has weird delivery.
That was very weird to me. I was laughing
Hmm.
when I should have been paying attention, but God,
Yeah.
that was funny. Metaforce.
Also, that does reveal, oh, by the way, Arcbeetle has a rare metal, which means Arcbeetle is just as sentient as Rakusho and Metabee.
I feel like that we could have already had,
I I
assumed that
personally kind of would have
prior.
preferred if he didn't. And Henry's just a fucking demigod. He's just that goddamn good. Where he's like, oh no, I have a normal metal in my Medabot. I'm just that much better than all of you.
Well, as far as we know,
No,
Similodon
and
doesn't
he
have one,
keeps pace. Hmm.
and he's number two.
I will say that I
So,
really enjoyed. They didn't know Medieval was a robot. Rakusho 100% tried to murk him. He jumped into the air and
oh,
he went right
absolutely.
for. He's like, this is
This is
for
for.
oh shit, the doctor. He was pissed off about him
Oh,
because he's like, oh, I set the fire
yeah.
and I killed him, and Rakusho's like, oh, did you? And just straight goes for the throat.
I was about to say, yeah, we
Oh man,
completely
I fucking
glossed over
love that he
that.
did that though, because it's like, yeah, if he'd been a human, they would have all just been covered in arterial spray. Those 10-year-olds.
Which is funny because he's like, oh, these Medabots they mean no
Yeah,
harm. Oh,
Rakusho's
fuck
like, "Oh,
this
did
guy.
you?" And just straight tries to murder him. So good. I love that part. I really liked that a lot. It was very good.
Yeah.
Um,
So, for the most part, for season one, it had its ups and downs. I still enjoy the show. I am happy that we're going to get into season two eventually
we're gonna
because
take
we're not
a
going to do that
breather.
right away. But I've enjoyed, for the most part, well, so to speak, I've enjoyed what we've
Hmm.
watched for season one for the most part. I know
Hmm.
that there were a lot of downs that we had because, man, this show does not know what it's doing
It's
sometimes,
very
and
all
it
over the
strictly just
road.
appears
I
to the
feel
dub.
like a lot of
Um,
it would have been a smoother ride. And again, watching week to week as an actual kid, hard to tell. And remember, this is from a time when if you missed a TV show, you just missed it. So you were used to being a little lost, which led to different expectations. I don't expect that when I'm watching the show back to back, quote unquote, in order. I don't expect to feel that way. That means you did something and I don't like what you did.
Right, exactly. So, like I said, I'm still looking forward to season two.
Hmm.
In the meantime, we have new specials in the pipeline. Will, what are our
Well, I mean,
specials? Today's special is decided
I will
lasagna.
say that. Oh, we're doing Garfield. Oh shit. Uh,
Oh,
I'm
you
pretty
motherfucker.
sure. Well, I'm not
I
pretty sure.
hate Mondays.
We talked about it like an hour ago at this point. We're doing Beast Wars and Beast Machines, I assume. So I'm
Hell yeah.
thinking we're either going to do both at once or do Beast Wars, and then we will do Beast Machines separately. And then in Beast Machines, because it is a shorter show, when we talk about that one, will the second half or even mixed in of that episode will be us talking about comparing, contrasting, putting them together and being like, how does square and circle, how does that work? And kind of arranging it because
Right.
there's a lot. I mean, 53 episodes just for Beast Wars, and then like 20 something for Beast Machines. So that'll be happening, and we will talk about it because we both adore it. And rewatching Beast Wars has done nothing to diminish how much I like the show. It's just basically shown me I got really fucking lucky. Beast Wars is a good show. It works on multiple levels. And as a kid, I was goddamn lucky to be watching that because from what I've heard, some of the other shows, iffy, 50-50, but Beast Wars works for me. It's very good.
It really is. So this is an open invitation to everybody who's in our Discord, which I will actually be putting the link to the Discord in the YouTube and all the other podcast episodes that were all the other podcast releases that we see from here on out. So if anybody
Hmm.
wants to join, you can definitely go ahead and click that. I'll also be posting it on the Facebook, and I'll also make mention of it on our Instagram as well. That way we can make sure that if anybody wants to join in on this Beast Wars
Yeah,
conversation, we'd be glad to
actually,
have
yeah,
you.
that'd be fun.
Now, the next 3 weeks before we get into Beast Wars, because Beast Wars, I need to take the time to go ahead and rewatch, and I'm sure anybody else who wants to actually, listen in,
Yeah. Also, if they
they can
want to
do that as
watch
well.
before they
But
see
the
the
next three
episode,
weeks,
because if you, they will be filled with spoilers, major plot points. We'll be jumping around like crazy. It's not going to be like we've been doing Medabots. So if you don't want that, watch it beforehand or wait to watch the podcast episode, listen to it, because it's not going to be
exactly.
like that.
Now, over the next 3 weeks, we have
Okay.
3 other specials that we're going to be working on. I'm going to be announcing this in our Discord tonight as well.
Hmm.
I have mentioned this earlier, and I'll make sure that David is aware of it as well, because we have 2 different Davids in our Discord. But I'm talking about the David that
Hmm.
we did our Pacific Rims one. We're going to do the first 3 live action
Remember,
Transformers
remember,
movies.
Chicago.
I was going to say, remember, left cheek, left cheek! But yeah, I want to go ahead and get those taken care of because despite how bad they can be, they are still a lot of fun to watch. And I think there's quite a few people in the Discord who have actually watched those movies who
Hmm.
would want to participate in that as well. So again, I'm going to be putting out an open invitation to everybody who wants to join in on that. We'll be happy to have you. It's just to make sure that we can have a I don't want to say civil discussion because there's nothing
Okay, I
civil
haven't
about
seen
those
them in years.
movies.
This will be
Um,
again an interesting step back in.
I think one is probably the least egregious out of all of them. Well,
Hmm.
actually, I think three might be the least
Yeah,
egregious. Three is just long. One has a lot of weird stuff that
that's fine.
I don't want to get into just now. And two just looks bad. Two just looks really bad. But then after we get done with these specials in the Beast Wars one, we'll
Hmm.
dive into Medabots season 2. So it's going to be about a month before we get into Medabots,
Hmm.
but I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of it. So you got anything you want to announce, sir?
If you live in the United States of America, we don't really get political, but please, if you want to vote, this is your reminder. Couple weeks, go do that. If you don't, also entirely your choice. Feel free to not. This is just a friendly reminder.
My vote, my
Wow.
choice.
Like
That works on so many
an
levels.
onion soaked in poo.
With that being
Hmm.
said, Will, did you have a good time this evening? Good. I'm glad to hear it because, motherfucker, if you don't, I will end
You know,
this
pull it off the
podcast.
road. Is that what's going to happen? I will turn this podcast around.
I will delete what we've already recorded. No,
Oh
no, not doing that.
boy,
Not doing
that would
that.
that would hurt.
Oh my god. Will, have you come up
Uh,
with a new sign off yet?
Take care of yourselves. Have a good time. Spread love,
God
peace
damn
and
it.
love, as Trigun taught us.
Guys, this is Big Mecha, but
Until-
not huge. Till all are one. Have a good night.
oh boy.